I learned how to disappear without leaving a room. You roll your shoulders inward, soften your footfalls, let your breath be the quietest thing about you. You learn the hinge squeaks, the stair that groans, which glasses chime like bells, and which take offense. In the Luna's wing, invisibility wasn't a trick, it was survival. People who got noticed didn't last. Some were transferred, some resigned. Some simply didn't appear on the rota again. The mansion noticed nothing. It kept shining. I dusted frames with my right hand, because using the left pulled dust where guests could see. According to Angelina, Luna Angelina, to everyone else, to me a pair of eyes in the mirror that found flaws like a hawk finds mice. She could cross the length of a room with a smile that made donors sign checks and warriors drop their gaze. The smile changed when the door closed. "Maria," she said one Tuesday, the word like a ribbon with wire in it. "You've lost the habit of gratitude." I completed the list you left on the cart. I said, careful with my tone, careful with my spine. "Yes," she breathed, and still. "Bend." The brush was her favorite lesson. Not enough silver in the bristles to raise blisters, just enough to singe. You don't scream. Screaming feeds whatever machine is humming inside a person like her. You breathe shallow and wait for her to grow bored. I gotten good at silence. Silence was the only thing left the first time the wolf in me hid. People forget wolves can hide. They see teeth and heat. They forget winter. The day I took the job 6 years ago, something in me folded. Trauma block. My therapist called it later, as if a creature inside me put cotton to her ears and crawled behind a couch. Back then, I called it necessary. I had rent, a mother losing her memory in a facility 2 towns over, and no protector in a world that worships them. I didn't choose the Luna's wing. I interviewed for laundry. Angelina looked up from a swatch book with her head tilted in that way purebreds have when they can smell lineage. She smiled. "You can start on my wing," she said like a gift. When I went to sign forms, the HR assistant squinted at the screen. "Weird," she said. "No status listed." I shrugged and coughed and tucked my wrists under my sleeves in case the old daycare scar showed. The system filed me under human, and some part of me sighed grateful, because that's what I needed to be. The alpha, Natosi, lived like a rumor at the edge of my days. I saw him 4 times that first year, once at a winter formal, once when he shook hands with a senator, twice in the great room, in shirt sleeves with a stack of reports and a face like a weather map. The pack said he'd married Angelina for peace, tied Sliver Ridge to the Voss shipping empire with a ring. The pack said a lot of things. I cleaned the mirror he looked into and learned to clean behind my own eyes. Abusers are hobbyists. They get bored with one art and pick up another. Angelina started with a brush, graduated to words you cannot unhear, perfected the accidental bump into marble table edges. She never left marks where donors could see. She left enough where I couldn't forget. And she always made me hold her gaze after. "Who feeds you?" she'd ask, voice honeyed. "Who keeps you from being something unfortunate?" Sometimes she'd touch my cheek, soft as a pet. "The alpha is a good man," she'd say. "You should be more loyal to what he built." I learned to pray without moving my mouth. I cleaned. I hid. I sent money. I swallowed the urge to snarl when pups who didn't know me stopped crying in my arms, as if the sound of my heartbeat told them we were going to be okay. The day everything changed, rain braided the eaves, and the house smelled like lemon polish. Iris, 17, clumsy, loud in a way that said she still trusted doors, skidded around the corner with eyes too big. "Not the sitting room," she breathed. "She's making a scene." "What happened?" "Nothing. That's the problem." She bit her lip. "She wants a confession." "Maria," Angelina sang down the hall. "Bring Iris to me." Iris's fingers found my forearm. "I didn't touch her," she whispered. "She said I slapped her." I held my hands out, open, the way you do with a spooked animal. "We'll ask for cameras," I said. "We'll be calm." Angelina sat on the edge of the couch when we arrived, barefoot in a robe that pretended to be careless, pearls at her throat that pretended to be earned. A faint pink mark flirted at her cheekbone, like a comma in a sentence she'd rehearsed. Lilies perfumed the air with the cloying sweetness of funerals. "She struck me," Angelina said before Iris could inhale. I won't be attacked in my own home. I didn't, Iris said, and her voice broke, and then she swallowed it. Luna, I would never. Maria will admit she was stocking microfiber on the service level while Iris ran deliveries. Angelina said to the lilies, shall we call security? Or is this the moment a girl learns honesty? Pull the cameras, I said. Call the healer. Iris is bleeding. It's lipstick, Angelina said, bored. Everyone bleeds in this house and then learns to stop. She stood and moved faster than anyone ever believes she can. It's the speed that always surprises you when someone with a yoga body and an Instagram glides across space like a striking snake. A pinch to my bicep, a twist to my wrist, my hip into the table. It wasn't a blow you could put in a report. It was pressure, all calculation. She smelled faintly of silver. She always did when she was delighted. You think I don't smell what you are? She murmured into my hairline. You think he doesn't feel it, even through bleach and fear? You're a static charge around him. You ruined photographs. I made a sound, not the one she wanted. With Angelina, you learned fast not to give her the currency of pain. It was lower, older, more dangerous. A wolf in a trap, remembering teeth. The door opened. Some men enter rooms, and the air accommodates them. Alphas make the air change. Natosi didn't have to raise his voice to re-angle the light. He had that kind of gravity, the kind skyscrapers respect. It was Iris he looked at first. Even with the storm in him, he went gentle around the edges when he saw a pup in trouble. His eyes found the cut at her lip, the way she was holding her arm like it hurt, and something in him condensed the way thunderheads do when heat asks for rain. What is this? He said. Not loud, not a question. Discipline, Angelina said, and made it sound like charity. Your staff attacked me. He looked at her cheek, pink and performative, then pastored me. It's funny the things you remember in rooms that change your life. The ring of water on the table where she'd set her glass, the sound of the rain deciding whether to be sleet, the exact instant a man realizes he's walked past an open wound for years. He saw, not the robe, not the pretty lie, me. The seam of my uniform had parted along my hip when she shoved me. Cheap thread and a right angle making an emergency. The bruise beneath splashed in colors that would read in any language. Green gone to yellow at the edges, new purple blooming like storm across a field of old. He stepped forward and then forced himself to step slow, like approaching a wild thing you don't want to startle. May I? He said, and he didn't reach. I lifted the torn fabric. The quiet in the room wasn't silence. It was every molecule listening. He breathed in once. Ozone cracked. The wolf in him shouldered forward until the lights flickered. He didn't shift. He changed. The man's bones made room for something older. Who did this to you? He asked, but his eyes were already moving past me to the velvet drawer behind the chair where Angelina kept the brush. I didn't, she said. She probably bruises herself for attention. He turned his head a fraction, and something in the house moved out of the way. Kincaid, he said without looking away from me. Call the healer. Margot. Scent map. Pull cameras now. Box the feed. Keep it off the main server. Kincaid, human, efficient, already dialing. Margot, security captain, crop cut, quiet, arrived faster than anyone in heels should. She set the handheld on the table like a sacrament. Running, she said. Angelina's smile stuttered. You're bringing police work into my sitting room. My sitting room, Natosi said, and the word my hung in the air like lightning you can see. Margot's handheld hummed, overlaying the room with ghostly topography, pressure bursts on marble, a heat signature of hands where hands shouldn't be, a spectral dusting of scent. Silver pinged on the brush handle, distinct and undeniable. The table edge mapped exactly to my hip. The scent of my uniform, bleach, starch, human, but under it a thread like pine in winter I hadn't let myself smell in years. Angelina's face flickered through emotions like a slot machine, trying to land on cherries and hitting skulls instead. This is beneath you, she said softly. All of it. Let me handle my domain. You handled it, he said. Now I will. He held a hand out to me, palm up, the way you lead someone out of a burning room. The part of me that had made a nest behind a couch inside my ribs stirred. Hospitals have a smell. Salt, and pine cleaner and old hope. Pack clinics, add rosemary and bread. Healer Hester's office looked like a grandmother's kitchen until you saw the cabinet with the needles. She met us at the curtain with eyes that had looked at every kind of hurt and learned to keep their own secrets. "Maria," she said, "seat. Breathe. We'll go slow." She cut the uniform away because fabric sticks to bruises in ways that teach you new vocabularies of pain. She cataloged quietly, the scanner humming. Old scar. Fresh contusion. Pattern consistent with bristled implement. She didn't have to say brush. The room had already said it. "Wolf," she said at last, her voice different on that word. "There you are." "I can't," I said. It surprised me that the word came out so small. "I can't shift." "Not can't," Hester said. "Won't. She hid to keep you alive. She'll come when safe arrives." Beyond the curtain, footsteps gathered. Margot's voice, Kincaid's, the beta's courtroom baritone. Angelina's perfume threaded through like a thorn. "You will not smear my name over some maid with a bruise. You will vacate the Luna's suite," the beta said, calm as a gavel striking. "Effective immediately. Pending investigation." "You can't," she snapped. "My father." "Your father does not rule this pack," Natosi said, and didn't need to raise his voice. She went for the artery. "You think you'll survive a council without me? Without the Voss ships? You'll lose half your trade if you turn me out for a little charity case who can't even remember what she is." The urge to show her what I was lifted in me like a tide. Hester's hand came down over mine, heavy and human. "Breathe," she said. "Let him do his job." Natosi's job turned out to be not rhetoric, but scaffolding. He didn't snarl. He documented. Cameras. Sent map. Witness statements from people who'd learned invisibility to survive. The house woke and whispered, and for once the people in power listened. An hour later, I was in a paper gown and warm socks while Hester pressed salve in a tissue that had asked too much of itself for too long. Natosi sat on a chair on the other side of the curtain with the patience of a mountain. He didn't look at his phone. He didn't talk to fill space. He existed in the way very few powerful men remember how to, as presence, not pressure. When I came out, he stood. He didn't touch me. Not because he didn't want to. His wolf had crawled so close to his skin I could feel heat rolling off him like summer. Because he was learning what I needed without being told. "I'm sorry," he said, and the room got very quiet because alphas don't say those words where anyone can hear them. I didn't know. I should have. It won't happen again. A funny thing about apologies, they don't fix bones or erase old pictures inside your head, but they make oxygen do a better job. My shoulders expanded a fraction. My skin didn't feel like clothing I had to justify wearing. "Under my protection," he said to Hester, to Margot, to Kincaid, to the walls. Old law, older than rings. Angelina made one last theater of it. She stood at the threshold of the medical wing with a suitcase and a publicist on speakerphone and said lines people like her keep in their purse. "We hope everyone respects our privacy during this difficult time. The Alpha and I remain partners in our commitment to Sliver Ridge. False allegations will be handled with dignity." She looked at me and smiled with all her teeth. "Enjoy being the reason two territories go to war." It should have landed. For years, everything she threw at me stuck. This time the word slid. It wasn't that the risk wasn't real. Alliances aren't feathers. They are webs. You tug one, and every spider looks up, but fear didn't drive the car anymore. Natosi was standing beside me, and the house had decided we were its story. The days after were weather. News broke. Phone screamed. The Council of Elders called an emergency session. Luca filed a petition to annul the political marriage on grounds of sustained cruelty, concealment, and endangerment of pack members. The elders looked offended at the very idea anyone would use a torque as a leash and granted the hearing. 9-3 to admit. 9-3 to annul. Angelina appealed to optics. Optics blinked. The Voss patriarch huffed in his estate and discovered the docs like stability more than scandal. Donations wobbled and then steadied. People like a roof that doesn't leak. Meanwhile, Hester taught me to be a person inside my skin again. "Trauma teaches your body to sprint at the slowest noises," she said, kneading salve into my hip. We're going to retrain yours to hear rain and think garden. I retrained. I slept at night without listening for heels. I took my lunch in the courtyard where the warriors threw sticks for pups. I watched the alpha apologize to the staff in a room so quiet you could hear dust settle. I told myself politics was for the pack, he said. It harmed the pack. That ends now. The house shifted at that sentence. Not metaphor. Houses built by wolves respond to vows. A hallway that always felt narrow didn't anymore. A skylight opened that no one remembered installing. The kitchen felt warmer. People started laughing without checking the doorway first. Hester asked if I wanted to leave. We have families on the coast, she said. If a fresh start sounds better than living in your old shadow. I pictured it, a rental on a street that smelled like salt and fried dough, a job at a cafe where my name tag said Maria and no one knew how close my wolf lay. Safety, anonymity, a folded life. I like to stay, I heard myself say. Work in a clinic with you. I'm good with the pups. The warriors who pretend nothing hurts. The elders who smell like winter. Hester smiled like sunlight on a wooden table. I was hoping you'd say that. My wolf waited until dawn on a Thursday. I was at the field with Elder Sanny, who teaches adolescents to shift with grace and teenagers not to treat their wolves like cars they can joyride. The fog lay low. The grass was cold enough to make ankles sting. Sanny blew on his coffee and squinted at me over the steam. You've been breathing to be small, he said. Breathe to be big. I breathed, and it wasn't a trick. It was permission. Inhale like you own your ribs. Exhale like the air is yours to make room in. Memory followed. My grandmother's thumb on my brow. The weight of the first book I bought with my own money. The sound a pup makes when you pick them up and their spine decides the world isn't ending. The way Natosi said under my protection like a door swung open. Bones are not cages. They are instruments. Mine changed key. No pain, just the electric rightness of a chord resolving. My hand shortened. My spine lengthened. The world tilted and landed. I put my palms down and they were paws. The ground came up and it felt like truth. The field became a library of sense. Last night's rain arguing with morning sun. An elder's wool sweater forgotten on a fence. A fox's quick smear of curiosity. The alpha's trail like river rock warmed by a hand. He was there at the edge of the field in his wolf. Midnight dark, scar on one shoulder like punctuation. He lowered his head like an invitation. I trotted. We ran. You can fall in love 100 ways. The body has a whole vocabulary for it once you stop stealing words from romance novels. My wolf falling into stride with his was one. We ran until breath became prayer. We lay in the grass with our flanks touching and the house breathed with us. After, human again, he didn't reach for me. I didn't step away. We looked at each other with a brand new kind of honesty, the kind you earn after your bones have known each other. I'm glad you stayed, he said. Me too. The council annulled his political marriage in a room with stone walls and very old laws carved into them. Luca's paragraphs were knives and blankets at once. Angelina's lawyers argued optics and supply chains and a woman's right to govern her household. Hester's scans made those arguments look brittle. Margot's map turned her cruelty into color and number. Kincaid's ledger of complaints, everyone had been too afraid to file grew spines. The elders whispered. The law spoke. When it was over, Angelina took off the torque herself and set it in Luca's hands with a smile. You only learn in families like hers. You'll regret choosing her, she said to Natosi, and to me. This is the nicest life you'll ever have. We kept it. There wasn't a coronation, not the kind the papers want. There was a night in the elders' hall with a shawl that belonged to an alpha's mother, and a table scarred by 100 oaths, and a circle of people who knew me by the way I stacked shares. The true mate bond is not a party trick. It's a weather change. Someone asked the ritual questions. Are you certain? Yes. Are you certain? Yes. The word slid through me like water, finding its riverbed. The bond rose like sunrise. I felt them in my bones the way a field feels fence posts, not as a limit, as structure. He felt me the way roads feel feet meant for them. When it locked, the house sighed. Wolves looked up in the yard outside, as if the wind had shifted, and it had. They started calling me Luna because packs need words. I kept working in the clinic. Power like the torque lives in a vault. Power like hands lives in the ward that smells like rosemary. I learned names. Sal with the sore hip who told jokes with punctuation that made Hester blush. Nor who pretended not to be afraid of needles until you let her hold your thumb. Roan, who came in 3 times with the same sprained wrist until I sat on the bench outside the ring and asked why he needed to hurt where he could see it. He cried into his forearm and said he didn't know how to tell anyone he'd gotten tired. Then you just did, I said, and the ache in his neck softened. Politically, it wasn't gentle. The Voss clan sulked. Allies sniffed for weakness. A blog called Pack Watch posted the scent map still, and the comment section did what comment sections do. It burned. Somewhere in the mess was a thread of something good. Women who ran houses and other packs sent Hester messages asking for a copy of our policy on staff abuse. We wrote one. We posted it. Wolves who heal in other territories asked if they could shadow in our clinic. We said yes. It turns out transparency is a better alliance than shipping lanes. The docs quieted. Money found its way back to hands that didn't punish the help. We kept living. I kept waking before dawn because bodies built on vigilance need time to learn they can sleep late. Sometimes I stood in the tiny room I kept in the old staff corridor. My choice, a shrine to an old self and a promise to anyone still living hers. I'd lean my forehead against the glass and look at the woods that had watched me for years. The trees hummed. The wolf in me hummed back. Down the hall, a door would open. "You up?" Natosi would ask, and the word "you up" meant coffee and a drive to the edge of our land to watch sun find frost. It meant a file under his arm he wanted me to read because the paragraph about elementary school lunches hit him different now. It meant a man who could lift a truck with 3 fingers had learned to move quietly because someone like me sleeps with her nervous system wired to thunder. "I'm up," I'd say, and we'd go. The house grew kinder. You can feel that with your hands. The air changes. People stopped flinching when Crystal chimed. Pups played in the corridor, named for a donor without being shushed. Warriors who bled on the mat took their bandages to the clinic where they learned the difference between a scar you brag about and one that means you need to change something before it kills you. Angelina sent a letter once, delivered by a courier who stood like a person who expects to be yelled at for both good and bad news. I opened it in Hester's office because that room smells like bread and helps everything. It said, in script that had charmed senators, "I hope you take care of him. He believes he can save people. That belief is more fragile than bone." I wrote back, "He doesn't need saving. He needed remembering." I didn't send it. I put it in the drawer where Hester keeps rubber bands and things that need to be contained. The first time I stood on the balcony with the torque in my hands, the moon was thin, a coin someone had flipped and nearly dropped. I didn't put it on. It had weight I respected, but didn't need to carry like a medal. I set it back in the velvet, like a blessing you don't use for every meal. Down below, Margot was teaching a new Gar how to read a street without staring. Kincaid had finally taken a week to go to a rented beach house where he reported, smugly, that he read a paperback and ate an entire bag of cherries by himself. Iris ran the rota with terrifying efficiency and a whistle that could cut through 2 floors of gossip. "Happy?" Natosi asked, leaning in the doorway the way men do when they want to kiss you and also listen. "Not always," I said. "Always is a lie. But yes." He came to me, and this time I went to him, and all the stories people tell about alphas and feral, and mates took a step back so we could fit our own life between them. He put his mouth near my ear and said the thing that still makes that old small creature in me stand up and dance. Home, we went. Every once in a while, someone new to the pack corners me after a council meet or in the clinic when I'm rolling gauze and says, earnest and hungry, "How did you survive so long in that wing?" I don't tell them the part they want, the blow by blow, the catalog of cruelty. People think knowing horrors prepares them, but horror is a climate, not a forecast. You survive by finding small weather windows, a minute of sun on a marble floor, a pup who falls asleep on your shoulder, a day you leave the brush in the drawer and hide her keys so she's late and misses the chance to use it, a wolf inside you who keeps humming under noise like a note in a symphony that never goes away. How did I survive? I found one person to be honest with, then another. I believed the healer when she said my body wasn't broken, It was brilliant at keeping me alive. I accepted protection without confusing it with possession. I learned to make space big enough inside me for a wolf and a woman and a job and a love that didn't smell like apology. I was a maid for the Alpha's Luna for years, which is to say, I learned the angles of a house built by power, and I learned how to carry plates without a clink, and I learned how to catalog harm without letting it turn me into a museum of grief. Then the Alpha saw the injuries she gave me. His wolf came so close his eyes went black. People tell that part like it's the miracle, as if men going feral is what saves women. It's not. It helped, yes. It moved walls. But the miracle was quieter, a hand held palm up instead of gripping, an apology on a microphone, a policy written and posted and enforced, a clinic where a woman like me could shift without fear, a man who learned that power feels better when it makes other people safe, a wolf who came back when she decided we were worth it. By the time the elders asked if I would accept the seat beside the Alpha, my answer wasn't a trumpet, it was the tide. Every yes I'd whispered privately pooling into a wave. I said yes. The house maid room. The pack learned my name like a song. And in the mornings when fog drapes the training field and breath makes clouds, I run with the Alpha across grass, so bright it looks like the world beginning again, which it is because we are animals and we were born to begin again. If you came here for a feral roar, fine. He roared. He broke a silver brush with his bare hands in a room that had only ever witnessed women being made to swallow their mouths. He made old men flinch at the word accountability. Stay longer, though, and you'll see the real thing. Him refilling water jugs in the clinic after a meeting because Hester's hands are busy. Me teaching a pup how to breathe with her belly so her wolf stops sprinting at shadows. A house that no longer creaks when a certain pair of heels approaches because those heels live somewhere else now. A pack that flinches less. A woman who doesn't disappear. A wolf who hums. A life that fits. I count still. Not days anymore. Names. The ones we kept. The ones we welcome. The ones we lost and say out loud so they don't disappear. The ones who arrive in the clinic with new bruises and leave with salve and a card in their back pocket with my number on it, and a circle around the words call anytime. Pack, I write. And then, under it, a word I grew into under a roof that finally became mine. Home.